that are acting. And I'm saying that because we have done our part. We have the Group CEO. You recommended him to us. We agreed with you. We have appointed the Group CEO. That must also happen for all these strategic positions. We can't have an acting CFO group. No. We have got to appoint the group CFO. We can't have CEOs acting. They must be appointed. And for that, I give you 3 months. That must have happened. Appointed so that we have stability at that level. Stability at that level. People who are acting, sometimes they don't take decisions, or they are afraid to take decisions because they think when they leave, somebody might find something wrong with their decisions. So we need to bring stability at that level. So like I've said, I was like, wow, okay, it's everybody acting. Head of Chief of Security is acting. Then you listen to the presentation, there's a lot about security. It cannot be. So that must just be attended to as a matter of urgency. I say this very softly, but when it doesn't happen, I won't be soft. We must give practical expression to the country's industrialization and localization agenda, which must ultimately enable us to fulfill the obligations entrusted upon us by the African Union to become the rail manufacturing hub for the continent. We're given this responsibility as South Africa. For me, this is one very precious responsibility. The trains, but we do not fulfill this dream of the AU, then of course others will do it. And they will not come to us, they will just do it. South Africa is expected to manufacture rolling stock equipment for the entire continent. So it's not only about trains, but even the equipment. And we're expected to increase production capacity to meet the expected demands both domestically and continentally. What is seriously concerning me is the monitoring of the Gibela contract. I have said this to the Department of Transport, and I'm saying here that we have a contract. It's a very good, detailed contract. But I'm not very sure whether as South Africa we are ensuring that everything that is in that contract is actually implemented so that we too can achieve whatever that is in that contract. The issue of CEOs rotating, it would seem like it's not happening. The issue of using the local people for quite a number of other things that are happening there, I don't think it is happening. So I don't think that we are monitoring the implementation of that contract as expected. And I'm saying here, not only to PRASA, but of course it's a contract between PRASA and Gibela, but ourselves as well, that we've got to ensure that that contract is actually delivering the outputs as it is drafted and agreed on, which amongst others is building and transfer of skills and capabilities. We need to know, because it's a lot of money that we give to that to those companies and to that company, Gibela company. It's important to know as to whether indeed we are producing skills. At the meeting that I will be having with the board, I will be expecting a detailed report which speaks about the contractual obligations of the Gibela consortium. And it is the responsibility of PRASA to manage and monitor this particular contract, and I'm emphasizing that point. Board Chair and Group CEO, the Auditor General raised a plethora of disciplinary cases still outstanding at PRASA. It's a lot of them. Some they date back to 2022 and 2021. Some they are about people that we thought they are no longer in the employ of PRASA. They are still in the employment of PRASA. I think it is important that we finalize this so that we can focus on positive things in PRASA. but also for building a positive PRASA brand. Part of the image building includes compliance with all the financial and performance legislative and policy prescripts. Financial mismanagement, corruption and fraud, irregular and wasteful expenditure must be addressed and be the thing of the past. This includes dealing with unethical behavior in the workplace. My expectation, in fact, I believe that the people who are sitting here, the majority of them are professionals. And there's an expectation that from professionals, people behave professionally. Corruption is not part of that. Definitely not. And therefore, we can't be known for corruption. You say PRASA, even people who may not remember as to which state-owned companies to mention when they talk about corrupt and poor-performing state-owned companies, but they will just say, Eskom, PRASA. It cannot be. We've got to change that so that we say we are no longer that PRASA that was known for all the wrong reasons. We can only do that if indeed we address some of these things so that they become the thing of the past, as we have said, particularly those disciplinary cases that are still outstanding, and hope that we're not going to add new ones, because all of us will want to behave professionally and ethically as per our priorities, 7 priorities for the 6th administration, that of building a capable, capacitated, and ethical developmental state. And I think we're going to comply and just do that. PRASA is at the coalface of service delivery, and it renders services that touch the lives of ordinary South Africans on a daily basis. You know, the reasons why people don't talk about PRASA and everybody talks about Eskom and load shedding and so on is because trains are actually used by ordinary people whose voices can't be heard. But Eskom ensures that we all have electricity. So those professors and the ordinary, if Eskom was providing electricity to the poorest of the poor, would not be hearing about this, you know, the issues and the noise. But because it actually provides electricity to all of us, then of course we can complain. But PRASA provides the services to the ordinary people of South Africa. And it is us here, myself included, and therefore us as public servants, appointed or elected, who must ensure that those people too get the best of the passenger rail that have got to be provided to them. And therefore, passenger rail remains the most affordable form of transport, which has provided an invaluable service to commuters and long-distance travelers alike. The dwindling number of commuters, loss of customer confidence in the PRASA services are driven by the aging fleet, inefficiencies in operations, rampant theft and vandalism that has actually paralyzed the system. Chronic safety and security challenges are issues that we must tackle head on. And I must say that some of these things we really have managed to reduce. This, I must say with confidence. For the first time, I think even Cabinet has hope that we are having PRASA that is beginning to perform and to deliver on its mandate. So we're saying this because we're making sure that even in structures where PRASA is not mentioned, we say PRASA too. We were in DRC, and they want South Africa to come and construct their rail infrastructure. And actually, they were talking about TFR only. And we said PRASA too can do it. So it is in those decisions that were taken at that level. And the president of the South Africa, when he actually was reading those decisions, he would then said TFR and PRASA. So that PRASA is also known for the good things that you are doing. But remember, in my language, they say, inala ayihambi, kuhamba indlala. So good news don't travel fast, but bad news do. So I think we need to keep that in our minds. The work that has been undertaken over the last 3 years, which includes the recovery of critical corridors, such as the Central Line in Cape Town and the Mapopane Line in Swane, must be given the necessary impetus. At the beginning of the term of the sixth administration, we set out targets in the medium-term strategic framework that were meant to improve. I don't know whether you ever bought those trains. If you don't, I have. Find somebody inside. Cape Town says, I was paying 1,000 plus for transportation. Now in the train, I am paying 175 rand per month. This is happening. What does this mean? It means that this person is saving 800 rand per month. This happens thanks to PRASA, thanks to passenger rail services, thanks to us recovering those corridors. So you might be sitting here talking about we've recovered or we're recovering or this and that and so on. But these things, they impact positively in the lives of our ordinary people. And it is important that we continue to do that. So it all depends. It's an effort that you put at your corner there alone that adds onto what another one is doing at her corner, his corner, and another one is doing at her corner, his corner, that we then have corridors that we have recovered. That ultimately assist the ordinary South Africans so that they can save out of our work. We also have the PRASA War Room, which we are saying it has to continue to drive the recovery process in a manner that enables us to measure the impact on communities and those who rely on the services for their livelihoods. We dare not fail in this task. We just cannot fail. We also must ensure that we fully employ the resources at our disposal to reach out to where the majority of our people are, who rely on the commuter rail services to access places of work and centers of economic activities, as well as schooling. We must be creative in how we stretch our resources to achieve more than what we had planned to expand the reach of our service quicker. PRASA's CAPEX program enables it to do just that. We can no longer make excuses as to why we are unable to spend on our capital programs. Let us find innovative ways to overcome the intractable challenges that slow down in this process. Remember, with our capital projects, we create jobs. Somebody who is sitting at home, many of them with tertiary qualifications, with capital projects, they find jobs. Let me tell you, today, people are so desperate that with their honors degrees, they are willing to be cleaners in departments. Ensure that these projects get implemented. We can do this by enlisting the support of our sister public entities who have extensive experience in driving capital procurement programs. We share experiences with. And I've said when we go out to the continent and wherever in the world, it's important that as the transport team, we hunt as a pack. Like we are from DRC. PRASA was not part of that trip, but when we heard that they actually want to construct their railway, the rail network, we said PRASA is there. And going back to DRC, in fact, the Minister of Transport will be visiting us from the 5th of August. PRASA will be part of that interaction because we want PRASA to say we are able to construct the rail infrastructure. We have the capacity because that's what you're doing. You're installing, you're signaling here. We are manufacturing trains. What stops us from telling them that? They're not talking about passenger trains there because they think it's something far from them. But if you look at the distance between Kinshasa and their second largest city, it's like a distance between Joburg and Cape Town. So a train there can work better. Of course, they are today using is going there to build airports. And they're starting from scratch. Sometimes you wish you can have somebody to go with to some of these countries so that we can see what is happening in other countries. They're starting from scratch. They hardly have a radar. When you hear that ICAO was auditing them, you just wonder as to what it is that ICAO was auditing, because there's nothing to audit. I'm not an aviation expert, but there's nothing to audit at all. Nothing. They don't scan anything. So aviation safety and aviation security measures don't exist at all. So you've got all those things. So that is why South Africa has then to go there and invest, because it's an investment. And it's an investment because we're actually providing some security services for them. They were begging us to come and assist them during the elections. They have elections at the end of this year. So we'll be going there. But it cannot be that we create that stable environment and then benefit nothing. And of course, invest in that way. Underspending on the financial resources we have been allocated definitely will not be accepted. And we must put systems in place to ensure that we not only achieve our set targets, but we exceed expectations in our efforts to ramp up service delivery. Our singular focus this financial year must be on tangible outcomes that improve the lives of our people. The focus of the PRASA War Room must be on this at all times. We will definitely continue with the ministerial here. I will definitely be coming again. Today, I've come to introduce the CEO to you and to present the CEO to you formally. But I will definitely be coming in the next coming weeks to meet with the board. So for me today, it's just to do this one responsibility, listen, observe, and then after that, I will apply my mind so that when I come to address the board, executive members of PRASA, I say things that I've observed, I've seen, I've listened to, and I've applied my mind on. So that is going to happen in the next 2 weeks. Chairperson, board members and staff of PRASA, as I've indicated, my primary purpose for today first is to inspect, but to see the work of PRASA at the Rail War Room level, and also to formally introduce the Group Chief Executive Officer of PRASA, whose appointment took effect on the 1st of April 2023. The appointment of Mr. Hisham Imram, who has risen through the ranks of PRASA from the days of its predecessor, the South African Rail Commuter Corporation in 2004. His experience also spans 10 years in the private sector. He was previously appointed as the CEO of PRASA Technical. In addition to his vast technical experience, Mr. Imram holds a degree in civil engineering and a master's degree in philosophy, specializing in transport studies. So we've not just appointed somebody without qualifications and know-how and experience. We've appointed somebody who we believe that he is equal to the task. He's got both the capability and the capacity to lead this important organization. The board has finalized negotiations with the Group CEO on the terms of his contract, including the signing of his performance contract. So now we'll be able to say, this is the performance agreement. What are you doing? This appointment represents a beginning of a new era for PRASA, and a new commitment to accelerate service delivery. The expedient service delivery ethos that underpins the Sixth Administration service delivery approach requires us time on the sustained agenda. These must be mutually reinforced in order to deliver on the service delivery outcomes we have committed to. Ladies and gentlemen, our work to rebuild commuter rail must continue in earnest. As said during my budget vote speech, that for the financial year 2023-24, PRASA has been allocated 20.5 billion rand. These funds must mainly focus on implementing PRASA's strategic corridor recovery program, signaling, and the rolling stock renewal drive. We must ensure beneficiation and localization. We must ensure that the Women in Rail program is urgently resuscitated and must record the much needed traction in economically empowering women, the youth, and people living with disabilities who face the brunt of poverty. So when I come back here, I will want the CEO and the board to tell me as to how they are empowering women, how they're doing it. In conclusion, you are as corrupt as any other person who is stealing a salary for doing nothing. At least a minimum of a day's work for a day's pay, a minimum. You can go beyond that. But coming to work and get used to doing nothing, it is wrong. It shouldn't be encouraged. It should not be done. You must be happy when you reflect at the end of the day and say, I did 1, 2. Remember, you live once. You are a professional and an employee of PRASA once. You are a citizen of South Africa once. You either make a contribution today or you are a liability to this country today. You make your own choice. When I look back where I started, when I meet people that I worked with, I'm not afraid that they're going to say, but how did it happen that you are where you are? It may not be that all of us will be ministers of transport or anything, but you might even be a cleaner. This building requires your services, and you contributing to the well-being and success of this building. So do it happily and do it with everything that you have, as if you're going to die tomorrow. I am a staunch Christian. By the end of the day, I pray. And in the morning, I pray. I always think that I must be able to go to God before I sleep and say, I did what I could. Thanks God for being with me and for leading me. I'm saying to all of us, it's time that we change PRASA brand. And we can do that. And one of the things I'm paid for is speaking. One of my job descriptions. Speaking. Wherever we go and speak, I can tell you now, people's mind, an ethos that says the PRASA of yesterday is no longer the PRASA of today. But it will disappoint us. It will disappoint us when we say that and people say, but look at what is happening. And we're able to explain some of the things because we would want to see this PRASA changing. And I think in small bits and pieces, it's beginning to change. People are beginning to see PRASA that is actually changing for the best. Always a room for improvement. And I'm saying it begins with you alone. If your supervisor is a dodgist, it doesn't mean that you must be like that. But supervisors should also give space to their subordinates to do their work and excel. Supervisors must not feel threatened by their subordinates. Give them a space to excel. It doesn't matter, nobody's going to take your position. We have appointed the group CEO. Under him, there are subsidiary CEOs and managers. He is the group CEO. When they perform, the glory goes to, not to me, it comes to me, because I'm the minister. When PRASA performs, I'm able to go out and say, PRASA is performing, and people think that it's me who's making the, when the people under you perform and you give them the space, you support, you praise where it is necessary. Things where they are right. That when wrong things happen and you are actually saying, no, but we've done wrong here, they understand. It shouldn't be like we're wrong every time. We do right, you never acknowledge that. When we are wrong, then that's when you acknowledge. I think that demotivates the staff. But never be demotivated. As I close, married women, because I'm one, married women will say, I will leave this family in a coffin. They say that. They say it not knowing, men can be troublesome sometimes. They say it not knowing what's going to happen in future. They go to a family they don't know to live with the person they also don't know. They meet that person, that husband, when they're old already. But they say, I'm getting married and not to leave my marriage. It doesn't matter what your supervisor does. It doesn't matter, he doesn't appreciate the right things that you are doing. Your conscience and your heart and your mind must tell you that I am doing the right things. And believe you me, we get blessed in many ways. And you may never know that you are blessed because of the good things that you do at work. If I was God, I'm not God. If I was God, for public servant, I was going to forgive them for all their sins that they do out there and so on and so forth. But just say you were a teacher. How many children did you teach and how many of them passed through your hands? You are a doctor. How did you manage your patient? You are a PRASA and you're a PRASA executive. How did your work contribute in the recovery of corridors? If the answer is no, go to hell. So it will be as simple as all that. You don't do your work, hell is waiting for you. You did your work, heaven is waiting for you, period. I would just be that God. And if you come and you have done whatever else outside, but you have done your work honestly, efficiently, and effectively to the extent of changing other people's lives, go to heaven. You don't do that, hell is waiting for you. I want to thank you again for this opportunity, CEO and board members. We are a team working together. I have said in the Department of Transport, I have been a deputy minister in this department since 2012. Only this year have I been appointed as the minister. I only have something like 12 months in this position. I beg you all to support us, to give us that support, to say she's been with us for all the time, maybe we can give her the support. If that can happen, just go to your office and say, I didn't think that I didn't have anything to do this morning or today, but now I just want to look for anything that I must do so that I contribute to the bigger picture in the transport sector, that of delivering passenger rail to the people of South Africa. I thank you very much.
Another round of applause to the Honorable Minister. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for the opening remarks, the kind words, encouraging words. For those of us who have worked with you for long, we know when you come and ask for accountability, you don't smile.
This is the Group CEO. I formally present him to you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much, Minister, for presenting the Group CEO. It's not me, it's the advocate who said you are not at value. Minister, the marching orders are very clear in terms of the priorities of government and the delivery agreement. And at least it's very important that we won't be asking somebody who acted for 3 months to account, another one for 3 months to account. There is clear, the Group CEO must be in charge, get his hands dirty, and be able to do the work. And the time frames of filling the post, I think it's very clear. And as the board will ensure that there's no more actors in PRASA, but people who are permanent and they can be able to do a work that is needed for government. And we're a very good board, Minister, you know. After a number of years, we've even given increases, you know, to the staff. I'm sure, and they know they haven't got it, so we are recognizing the work that is happening, and they can go and donate shoes, Minister, as part of their element. And this board, Minister, like I said, stability, I think, has demonstrated a number of things that, for the first time, we have made history in the history of PRASA, that we have gone beyond the capital budget that was allocated. So be rest assured, I'm not singing for the reappointment, some of them, but I'm just saying these are the men and women who have really made a difference in terms of that. I mean, under the leadership of the chair of ARC, one of the critical elements that has always plagued PRASA was this issue about material irregularities. And I think we have really went to town and did a number of issues, asset elements issues, and we are working very well with the Auditor General in dealing with some of these issues. We are putting pressure, and performance has really gone up. We appreciate the introduction of the GCO, who's not a stranger to the transport sector. He's one of our own. Engage with him in a number of forums, and even in our engagement with staff, both with organized labor and with management itself. They were very happy that it is for the first time in a long time, when we decided who must lead PRASA, it's somebody who don't have to teach what is an OHTE, what is a payway. At least he understands the environment that will be able to perform. And I think it gives us pleasure as the accounting authority in terms of the PFMA to be in really in the right path. I'll now move, Minister, to the last item on the agenda and allow the man of the moment, in the street language they call him the nigger in charge, to come to the front. And I don't know whether he's going to respond or will respond in 2 weeks, but to respond really and address staff and the minister in some of the issues we want to raise. Over to you, GCO, and congratulations.
Minister, thank you very much for those inspiring words. Starting with the Minister of Transport, I see the DDGs present from the DOT. I recognize them. The DOT staff led by the DDG today, Mr. Makapia, the staff in the ministry led by the Chief of Staff, the PRASA Board of Control, management, and employees at large. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is certainly a huge honor for me to be appointed as the Group CEO of this important entity called PRASA. And it is one that I do not take lightly. I want to give you my commitment in terms of that. In addition to this being an honor, I also want to share my gratitude for the Board of Control that have shown their and given me their confidence in me. I want to thank the Cabinet for endorsing my appointment. And importantly, I want to thank the Minister of Transport for her unwavering support. And then to my colleagues at PRASA for your encouragement and the support and the strength that you give me to stand up here and to lead you. I also want to acknowledge Labour, who I see is present, the national representatives from Untu and Satawo is here. And I want to recognize and appreciate the vote of confidence that they've given me as well in taking up this role. Now, Minister, you started off by referring to the Nelson Mandela Day, and you've thanked PRASA for our role and our contribution. But I want to thank you, Minister, and your team for reminding us not to neglect the rural areas. I think for those of us that were there to join you in Ndwandwe Primary School, it has left very strong and special memories with us. And it's not a one-off occasion, once off. You are correct, it's about sustainability, going back and ensuring that we do our bit. But I want to thank you for reminding us of the rural areas as well, to ensure that we've got a focus within these areas. And the memories that we have there of the little children, even from feeding them, through the feeding scheme that we had there, the kitchen, the hall that we had, and all the goodies that we have given out. You can see the impact it has had on these little ones. The issue, as I've said, is not a once-off. You've seen that there were some computers. We've also told the team to make sure that we go back and we give some training, ensure that they can understand how you operate the laptops, what are some of the key programs that need to be done. So the team will be going back to do that. Minister, I want to assure you that we've heard you very carefully in terms of your expectations and your targets that you have to report on. Whether it's around the 16 corridors, whether it's the issue around the new trains with Gibela, whether it's the issue around dealing with the disciplinary through the AG reports and all of these things. And I know the representative has already mentioned, but when we come back as the board, as the EXCO, we will report on all of these matters in detail to your Minister, to give you the comfort that there has been movement and we are moving in the right direction in terms of these critical matters. The issue as well in terms of the vacancies, and we are in discussion, the board is in discussion around this to ensure that is accelerated. You have correctly picked up, Minister, when I introduced that a number of the key positions are still acting. And there's always the joke in PRASA that we are another Hollywood. We are filled with actors. But going forward, we are going to fill those positions as a matter of urgency. Now, I mentioned earlier that I'm honored to lead this critical state-owned entity. And I mean that because we play a noble and a critical role in our country. We provide transport for millions of people, majority of them being the poorest of the poor. And we need to ensure that in addition to the poorest of the poor, Our strategy is also there to ensure that we also attract the choice users into the system, Minister. So many of us in the room as well, to leave our cars, park it at the station and jump on the train. And that is part of the modernization program that we are rolling out. So one is to